Following a high-level roundtable meeting held by B'nai B'rith International concerning the outcomes and conclusions drawn from the recent NATO Summit in Wales, Eric Fusfield and MEP Doru-Claudian Frunzulica talk with EU Reporter about NATO's involvement in Ukraine and beyond. So, Eric, obviously much discussion taking place today at the roundtable concerning the NATO Summit. What conclusions did you draw?
Well, first of all, I think this was a very important discussion. I think B'nai B'rith really was very pleased to be able to bring together parliamentarians, think tank representatives, NGOs, and people from the private sector to talk about not just the important issues that came out of last week's NATO summit, but the issues that are still on the agenda of the transatlantic partnership that are going to require ongoing attention. And I thought we were really able to dig into some of these issues in a substantive way and also raise insights about differing cultural perspectives, different political perspectives that will impact the way the transatlantic partnership moves forward. So really it was an exciting opportunity, and I think it's just sort of tapping the potential of what remains to be done in terms of continuing the dialogue and deepening our engagement with our partners on these issues.
How dangerous do you feel the situation could get? NATO becomes involved, things obviously get very serious. How involved do you believe NATO will become?
With respect to the range of issues we're talking?
With respect in particular to Ukraine, I suppose.
Well, I think that I think the introduction of NATO into the equation is not likely to make the situation more dangerous. I think it's an organization that operates on the basis of consensus, and they're operating on shared principles. I think with respect to Ukraine, the notion that a country can't expand territory by invading a neighbor is a guiding principle in this case. But look, NATO is an organization that's committed to democratic institutions and coalition building, and I think it remains to be seen. They've already taken some serious steps, Americans and Europeans, with respect to sanctions, and we'll see what comes next.
So, Mr. Frunzulica, the NATO summit recently, an awful lot was decided. What are your thoughts and feelings on the conclusions of the summit?
Today we analyzed the results of the Wales NATO summit to this roundtable organized by B'nai B'rith International with the participation of MPs from different political families, as well with other guests from Brussels, from other B'nai B'rith organizations from United States and Europe. Yes, we analyzed the opportunities and challenges after the NATO summit in Wales and the summit declaration, and I could say there are good results for the eastern border of NATO, for the Baltic states, Poland and Romania, my country. Then NATO is coming back to its normal activity to protect and defend the Euro-Atlantic area. For Romania, there are good results. We got Southern Commandment of NATO that is going to be placed in Romania, as well a proposal from President Obama to organize in Romania on the Black Sea training and exercises center for military ships of Romania and Bulgaria, where NATO, United States ships will participate as well. Then definitely it's a step forward to strengthen the eastern flank of NATO, which was lately under the challenges and even threat of Russia's actions in eastern Ukraine, and of course the annexation of Crimea by Russia. As well, the cyber attacks are now part of the normal activities of NATO to respond to this threatening actions. Then a cyber attack against a NATO member is going to be considered an attack that NATO should have to respond militarily. As well, the concern considering the situation in Middle East, in Iraq and Syria, and on the Mediterranean Sea, then there were important steps forward to strengthen, the Euro-Atlantic area security and defense, because what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Afghanistan, and what's going on in the Mediterranean Sea is influencing and is touching very much the European security and defense.
You've spoken about NATO's involvement concerning the incursions into eastern Ukraine. How dangerous do you believe this situation could get, and how dangerous might it be if NATO's response has to step up?
It's very important that NATO decided to respond strongly to these challenges and even attack on our common security and defense, because Ukraine is an European state, and all NATO countries declared that Ukraine has to stay as a unitary state, and its borders have to be internationally, recognized as they were until now. Then we cannot permit as NATO countries new challenges and threats on our security and defense.
And finally then, do you feel that there is hope of a peaceful, and I mean peaceful, resolution to the crisis in Ukraine, and will NATO assist?
It depends on lots of things. It depends first of all on the will of Russia, to stop support the rebels from the eastern Ukraine, and as well it depends on the negotiations that are going to take place between the government in Kiev and the rebels, and of course it's very important that they will achieve final settlement of this conflict